Nicole Shanahan. Nicole, how are you?
Very good, Glenn. How are you doing?
I'm very good. It is. It's great to have you here. So, I want to ask you the Surgeon General thing. Are you for Casey Means or not for Casey Means?
Well, I'll tell you who I am for, Glenn.
Okay.
I'm for all of those Americans, the hundreds of thousands of doctors seeking truth, honesty, and dignity in our medical system once again. That is what I'm for. That is what propelled MAHA into existence. That is what propelled Bobby Kennedy into the position of running for president of the United States. That's why I joined the campaign. It really is about listening to this group of doctors that did the right thing during the COVID pandemic, that spoke up when it was dangerous to speak up, that lost their licenses. And so when I hear from that base concern or research about individuals in and around MAHA, I have to listen to them. And I do listen to them because oftentimes they are right. They're brave and they're principled. So the concern I've been hearing from that group of people is that MAHA has, any movement, MAGA had this issue too, of infiltration by different groups that are more self-serving than they are for the movement itself. And so just one example, Casey Means is a founder of a company that does biometric harvesting. She's very close with many of the big data biometric harvesting companies in Silicon Valley. And this, I know several of these people. You do not want them running in a government position that is responsible for everybody equally, right?
Okay, so wait. What is bio? What is that? They're harvesting what?
Well, so biometric data is anything between heart rate data to all of the data that is collected from your Fitbit or high glucose monitor.
Okay.
It could be labs.
Okay.
It could be and then there's all the DNA harvesting and big data that's being done. So, I think that the base, MAHA really came from medical freedom and medical sovereignty and the idea that we have to keep conflicts of interest out of the government. And so when I, see some stuff going on that we could be doing better, right? Our job, and I learned this from the MAGA base, our job is to continue to seek the best possible people for government that are truly putting the principles of this country first, the principles of American sovereignty first.
So you wrote yesterday, it's very strange. It doesn't make any sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. in the Senate confirmation, that neither of these siblings would be working under HHS or an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what's going on. It has been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. With regards to the siblings, there is something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost as if they were bred and raised as Manchurian assets. Wow.
Yeah. So to keep in mind, that was not, I was responding to Dr. Suzanne Humphreys, who was also expressing very similar sentiments.
Yeah.
Concern. There's better candidates. So what's going on? I also heard from other MDs in the field that there was another doctor that RFK had wanted for the position, very, very qualified doctor. And she was caught by surprise as well by this other choice. So, there's, again, they don't call it the swamp for no reason, right?
Right.
And I'm not officially within the administration at all. In fact, I've decided to take the path of staying an independent media person, which I think, and you know this, Glenn, it's really important that when you are an independent media voice, that you stick by your principles and that you're not just a mouthpiece for any government organization, but you're really on the outside reflecting back the hopes and wishes of the constituent. Yeah,
it's very hard to do. I mean, I take stances against the president and for the president. And you always have to balance, I have my opinion and I'm never going to be bought out by anybody. But you also want to make sure that you're being fair to the people that you trust. And I know you have trusted RFK for a very, very long time. And for what struck me on this is, I don't know if RFK lied to me, which I hope he didn't, or what's going on. It's been clear in recent conversation that he's reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions. That's a remarkable thing to say, especially about RFK, because he does not strike me as somebody who is afraid of somebody else.
I don't know if it's fear or what he's called political 4D chess. Again, they don't call it the swamp for no reason. It's just at some point there's certain decisions that I think are worth fighting for. When you are in and I do appreciate what a very complex political environment this is. And I do understand that even within these agencies, there are groups that are intentionally keeping and withholding information from the new leadership. So, I fully appreciate how complicated it all is. But there are definitely things that the base is like, this is an easy one. This could have gone better, right? We don't truly, and everyone's guessing what precisely this 4D chess is all about and why these moves are being made and trying to anticipate the next one. But it's something that I think, there's just certain things that indicate that whoever his chess coach is, could be making some better decisions for him.
But Casey, I mean, when I talked to the twins during, or after COVID, they seemed pretty clear on what was bad and what was good. They both seemed to be good on COVID and the vaccines, didn't they? Or is my memory faulty?
They talk a great talk. Let me tell you, I will say I was once a fan of the Meanses as well. It was only after I received many comments from individuals in and around the transition team, as well as new research that came up. And then really when the base expresses these things and provides that degree of inquiry, and shows that kind of concern, I think we owe it to them to listen.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So overall, how do you feel things are going?
I think, again, there's been a lot of focus around food dyes. Meanwhile, there's millions of people suffering from vaccine injury that still feel very neglected.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate the recent executive order regarding gain of function and limiting overseas research.
And shutting down a
no-brainer.
Shutting down a very dangerous biolab here.
Yes, and there are many of these biolabs that are kind of flying under the radar.
Right.
So it is a big step in the right decision. I am a huge Jay Bhattacharya fan. Probably one of his biggest. I really am excited for him as he builds out his team. I hope that he has a very, very strong team around him in the next coming weeks, because he's going to need it. As far as HHS goes, I'd love to see Bobby bring in more of those doctors that have been around him for the last 10 years very regularly, because these are the individuals that, I trust these people with my life. They have sacrificed everything to do the right thing time and time again. They are so deeply principled. They will never take a check over helping a patient out. And they actually do have the answer. So I'm hoping to see more of those people around Bobby soon.
So I'm wondering, because this way I feel about a couple of things with the FBI and Intel. that if I don't see some people in the next year or so go to jail, or at least brought in for a fair and honest trial, I don't want to just scoop people up and just assume that they're guilty, but if build a good, strong case, bring it to trial, have it a fair and honest trial, and let the chips fall where they may. But if I don't see some prosecutions, at least, I think I'm very upset at the DOJ, and Pam Bondi, and head of the FBI, Kash Patel, and I'm trusting them so far that they are doing that. Do you feel the same way at all about, if you don't see some people go to jail that clearly lied about the vaccines, if they don't go to jail, you really haven't fixed anything. You're just eating around the edges.
Yeah. I mean, I think that really explains it. And this is why I think it's important to continue to voice those concerns, because they're only going to grow and mount. And it really is the American people that were sold this vision of accountability, and we want to see it. We have to see it. I mean, we're several months into the administration now. HHS, lags behind the Oval Office in terms of getting going, but people were seriously injured. There were many crimes committed against the American public, crimes committed against our bravest doctors, crimes committed against children. We need accountability. We really, really need to see that, because there's a preciousness in this moment, and we have to deliver. This country deserves it.
And I mean, if we can't correct the things, for instance, Washington State just passed a law where if there is another pandemic, everybody seems to be, claiming there's another one right around the corner. But if there is another pandemic, that they will have absolute control over what you put into your body and what you do. That's terrifying.
They do. And those emergency orders, no one's scrutinized them. There haven't been revisions.
No, Washington State just revised it to codify it. Washington State just codified it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'd like to see more focus around that, not Red Dye 40 and not Kellogg's. I'm totally fine leaving Kellogg's alone in favor of HHS spending all of its energy and all of its focus and all of its leverage, making sure that we are actually properly ready for the next pandemic, and not to cause the catastrophic harm that was caused during COVID-19.
Nicole Shanahan, she's got the podcast Back to the People, and it's now coming to Blaze Media. It's the same podcast that she's been doing, just now, as she says, with a wider reach. Glad to have you. Nicole, thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn. It was a pleasure to come on.
We'll talk to you again.